In an Arizona's Family exclusive, we have an update on that baby who captured the world's attention during the chaos of the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. She was seen in that viral video being lifted over the razor wire to a Marine in Kabul.
Not many of us will forget that video ever. The baby's health and whereabouts have been unclear until now. Jarrett spent time with the family in Phoenix and learned the incredible, complicated backstory behind their escape from the Taliban.
Of all of the images showing the chaos and desperation at the Kabul airport, one 9-second video stands out.
A baby handed to U.S. Marines over razor wire.
We don't know why the child was handed over, nor do we know where the child's parents are or if they were in the crowd.
But if he or she makes it out, they, at least, will have no memory of these dark days.
She did make it out. Leah, now 8 weeks old and living in Phoenix with her parents, was born just 16 days before her family fled.
All of this is so fresh, but what do you think you'll tell her when she's old enough?
Well, I'll tell her she's a fighter. She made through the worst of the times, the beginning of her life.
For security reasons, we're not using their full names. Leah's father, Hamid, worked as a linguist and cultural advisor for American military officials in Kabul. He'd been working behind the fence at the airport for weeks, helping the Marines with evacuations and unable to leave. So he'd never even met his newborn prior to August 19th, the day he called his wife at home to tell her it was time to go.
At what point did you know that you had to get your family out?
We got intel about people being killed or go missing without anybody knowing where they are. By affiliation, it's probably my home was going to be next.
It was only a matter of time.
Yes,
in your mind.
It was not a if, it was a when.
So that day, with the crush of people that we watched flooding the airport trying to get through, did you know it was that bad? Did you know what you were walking into?
Not initially.
He also had no way of knowing his wife Sadia would be robbed of all of their belongings on her way to the airport with their baby. Sadia doesn't speak English, so Hamid told her story.
They checked her documents, they took her money, her gold, jewelry, whatever, her passport.
Who took her jewelry?
It was Taliban.
So it's not someone who took it for safekeeping?
No.
You think it's gone?
Oh, it's gone.
How much do you think it was worth?
I think it was worth about $35,000 to $40,000.
Dollars?
Yes.
Despite pledging cooperation with the evacuations, the Taliban took everything they had.
That was our life savings. So.
We have a saying here that's insult on top of injury.
Exactly.
Eventually, Satya and Leah joined the chaos at the airport gate. They spent hours trying to get through.
So you were in there on the other side of the barbed wire.
Yes.
Could you spot your wife and your daughter through the crowd?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
And you waved them over?
Yes.
Some Taliban commandos were checking documents. Others were beating people trying to get into the airport.
So they would pass out, they'll be bleeding. People got in with their arms broken, legs broken.
And in the middle of that is your daughter who's 2 weeks old.
Yeah. So I knew she's never gonna make through that gate. She'll be either crushed, God forbid, to death, or she's gonna be severely injured. I told one of the Marines, like, hey, that's my daughter, in the crowd.
What was his reaction to you when you said, there's my baby?
Yeah. He was like, the only way we could do is get her over the bar, but she will get hurt. I was like, it's okay.
He said the only way we could do this is if we lift her over the barbed wire.
Barbed wires. I'll take the chance because I'd rather have her get hurt than, God forbid, die. So
it was worth the risk.
Yes.
It is hard to see in the video, but Hamid was holding the legs of the Marine, stabilizing him as he leaned over to grab his baby and lift her over the razor wire and into his arms.
And you got to hold her for the first time. How long did you get to hold her?
2 minutes, maybe.
Hamid left Leah in the arms of another Marine and went back to help with evacuations, focused on getting his wife, who'd collapsed from exhaustion, through the gate.
During those hours, did you have any assurance as to where you'd be able to reunite with your daughter?
Even that day, I handed over my baby to a total stranger, but the only thing I trusted was that he was a Marine, and my daughter will be fine.
And he was right. This photo shows the thoughtful care Leah received while away from her parents. If you look closely, you'll see fraying on Leah's clothing. A nurse tore apart her own pink scrubs and stitched the scraps together into a makeshift onesie. Hours later, Mom, Dad, and baby were finally reunited and put on a plane out of Kabul. They have not been able to contact the Marine who made it possible.
If he sees this at some point, what would you like him to know?
Oh my God. Probably I would just give him a big hug. I hope someday I'll be able to track him and find him and thank him for what he did that day, because he literally saved my daughter's life.
The family traveled from the Middle East to the United States, the whole time unaware that the world was wondering what had happened to the baby who'd been pulled over the fence.
So it's when I got back home here, everybody was telling me, hey, your daughter is on the video. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well,
you had no idea
had
the
no
world was
idea.
captivated by the whereabouts of your baby.
yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea.
What did you think when you found out?
I was shocked. It was a little emotional too.
She became a symbol of the desperation. You represented so many families who were in that situation.
But what was heartbreaking is I was inside and I had somebody to pull my daughter over the wires. There were thousands and thousands who didn't even have that opportunity.
They are relieved to now be temporarily staying with friends in Phoenix and trying to figure out how to start new lives here.
What did you arrive here with?
Nothing.
When you say nothing, do you literally mean nothing?
I
like
literally
no
know
documents,
nothing.
no ID?
No, nothing.
That is, aside from what matters most, their new family, alive and together.
Hopefully when she grows up, I'll tell her, like, she has to realize that although it might have been traumatic, but she has been given an opportunity that a lot of kids on the other side of the fence didn't get. So she has to live up to that.
They still have several family members who are also considered Afghan allies. They did not make it out. They're in hiding right now in Afghanistan. That's why we're not fully identifying them. So they're trying to get those relatives and friends out right now. I got an update from Hamid today. He did just get a new job helping to resettle other Afghan refugees in other parts of the country. And I think you could tell just how humble they are. I do want to mention they have a GoFundMe account. It's not something they even told me about till after this was over. So it wasn't a precondition for the interview. But they have that. They're not looking for a handout. They're looking for just some building blocks to get their lives back.
Not a hand me out, but a help up.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I'm thinking about the mother, you know, as if having a baby 2 weeks prior isn't traumatic enough. She went through a series of trauma.
And yet she had a very difficult delivery. She was very weak, so she had to gather the strength to pack all their belongings up. It's typical custom to, when you get married in that culture, you get a lot of gold and jewelry in addition to cash. All that is gone, totally wiped out on that one trip. They even took her shoes. She showed up to the airport barefoot. They took everything on that way.
That shows you the desperation of the innocent people of Afghanistan and how much they wanted out, because the Taliban, they were taking women as wives, raping them as well. And when he said he knew that they had to go, they had to go. And what I will always say too is that it always is these moments that you just reported on, these children caught up in these wars. When the bombing in Syria, we saw that little child on the bus. Scarred and bleeding,
and that's
stuff,
what sticks with us.
It sticks with
really
all
resonates.
of us. It does. It renovates.
Yeah. Well, this story, you've got the first interview with this family. I'm assuming this Marine will see it at some point.
We do believe we know who he is, so we're working to confirm that with the Marines. And I would like to know if he even wants to be identified. I'm hoping that he at least will want to talk to the family.
Even in
if
private.
he doesn't want to talk
Even
to
in
us,
private.
totally fine and
He's part of their
understandable.
family now. There's no way around
For
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Jared, as always,
Great story.
great reporting
Thanks, you
tonight.
guys. Appreciate it. Yep.